Boom, boom. It's a Leo Be the Lion show. Boom, boom. Gonna tell you what you need to know. Boom, boom. Now here comes your boy Leo. Hey everybody out there, it's Leo Be the Lion coming at you live from Subculture Radio and subcultureradio.com. We are here at Respectable Street recording live every Monday 6 to 7 and on Clematis in beautiful West Palm Beach, Florida. And I've been on a little 3-week hiatus. You know, when your voice is what you use to talk to people, when your voice isn't right, you can't work. So it's like I had to get my voice right before I could get back to these Leo Be the Lion shows. But I got a jam-packed show for you today. I'm going to get right into it, but first I want to give a little shout out to my girl, Melly G. Yo, she gave me the best directions. I was like, I need a shortcut, how to get to the studio fast. And she showed me one. I caught all the green lights. I was there. Baby, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Got there on time. But that parking situation, we'll talk about the Clematis parking situation while on one of these shows. I know I have in the past, but it's okay for now. It's okay. It'll do, pig. It'll do. And let's get right into what I did over the weekend. It was a fabulous weekend. It was a Chamber of Commerce weekend here in Palm Beach County. It was sunny skies. It hasn't rained in about, well, steady rain. It hasn't rained in about a good 2 weeks, I would say. And we need the rain, but it was a beautiful sunny day. Maybe a little hot on Sunday, you know, in the 80s. And peaked up to 90. But it was a good day over the weekend. And I got to go to a pool party at one of the new developments in Lake Worth. It was such a great development. And picture, if you will, the clubhouse where the pool party was at. And the clubhouse, when you walk in through double doors. You can go straight out into the pool, go to the left to the reserved clubhouse, or you can go to the right where the weight room is. And then once you look to your left, when you walk in, you look to your left, and you see a sign that says community room reserved. And so everyone respected that, and you know, the party goers went into the community room, and picture, if you will, right outside the community room, there's a patio out there. And the patio is a screen-in patio where people can use first come, first serve. And so I'm setting this up to let you know that we're having the party's going great, and all of a sudden, a lady who's not invited to the party starts going back and forth into the community room from the pool. And mind you, there are restrooms and public restrooms for you to use if you're using the pool, so you don't have to go into the community room restrooms to use it. So when I noticed this, I kind of let people know, and other people noticed it because I wasn't the party person. Like, I wasn't the person putting on the party, so I didn't want to say nothing. You know, it's not my place. I'm not trying to be a Ken. I'm not trying to be Karen, whatever. It's not my place. I see her go in there. She takes her daughter in there to use the bathroom. Okay, maybe she doesn't know that it's reserved. Then I go out, go in the pool a little bit, and then come back, and I see her come back and grab something out of the fridge, like grab some ice or grab a popsicle out of the fridge, what have you. And keep in mind, the party is going on in that community room. We're just all out in the pool because everybody's like having fun in the pool. We haven't done cake or nothing. So I tell the party planner, like, hey, this lady who wasn't invited to the party, just a stranger, just keeps walking through the party, and she's gone into the fridge. And I mean, we have food out and everything, like, so when it's time to eat, we'll be able to do that. You know, we'll be able to eat inside the community room. Well, she walks out, and then so one of the party planners asked me, like, if you see it, can you just say something or let one of us know if you see her do it again? So she goes to do it again right in front of the grandparents of all the people, right through the grandparents of the party planners. And so I say, excuse me, miss, you're being incredibly rude that multiple times you walked through the party and used the bathroom or walked through the party and, like, used the refrigerator when we reserved the whole community room. And she knew she was in the wrong because she immediately went to, oh, the patio outside is first come, first serve, so you can't reserve the patio. But you can reserve the community room. And so she wouldn't have it. And I felt myself getting a little angry. So I said, no, I'm not going to handle it. I'm not the owner of this party. So I'm just going to let them handle it. And I walked away. So the owner of the party went up to them and said, are you part of the HOA? Are you? And the lady said, no, but I paid the $735, whatever, every 3 months to be part of the HOA. And she's like, well, are you on the board? Oh, no, I'm not on the board. Okay. So then she proceeds to basically sling a derogatory slur at the party owner and basically in front of kids tell them to go basically do something derogatory to a man. So I didn't have that. I mean, I wasn't putting up with that, and I was disappointed in the lady. But you know what? We had the last laugh. She was in the wrong, and she ended up leaving the pool area. She knew she was wrong. She didn't even have a fob to get in, but because we had the door propped into the community center, she was using that to use the bathroom because she didn't even have a key to use the own community center bathroom. So I just thought that was funny. You got to sometimes put people because they will try it. Like, people will try it. If they just see, like, free candy, people will take it. If they see a free opportunity to go in here and use the ice or use the bathroom when they don't have to use when they can't use another bathroom, they'll try it. So sometimes you have to. It's 2023. I'm not gonna just be like, oh yeah, this lady's fine. Like, what if she, kept doing it and would have eaten some of the food from the party? So you gotta speak up when you see something like that. Then I want to talk about now this miracle product. It is a sinus rinse you can pick up at your local drugstore or pharmacy. And I just want to say, for anybody having sinus troubles, anybody having a clogged nose, dealing with that, it's like it was that time of year, the temperature's changing, the season's kind of changing. That caused me to be put on basically IR, the injury reserve, for a couple weeks. And that sinus rinse really gets out stuff that you didn't even know you had in your nose. And it really helps clear up your passages and allow the mucus to get out so it's not harboring more germs and just your germs aren't just sticking in your nose. So it was really cool. And other than that, Leo Be the Lion has just been chilling, working, doing his day job, having fun on the weekends, having fun with my son. And the only thing that's bothered me lately is the time change. The time change has got me kind of messed up. I love that it gets dark later, but the time change has caused me to not know what time of day it is at all. Like, I'm really like, oh, it could be 3 p.m. right now, and I would not even know. So that kind of threw me off. I like to kind of know around what time it is. I like to consider myself a human sundial, even in the shade. And I kind of have a knack for guessing the time. But the time change has messed that up. Thanks a lot, time change. Can we just stick with this time? And then maybe in the fall we won't have to fall back? I think Florida is trying to get that approved, so hopefully U.S. and Florida will get that approved, because some states like Arizona, they don't participate in daylight savings time. So that would be great if Florida could get rid of that, because we get enough sun year round. It wouldn't make that huge of a difference in the winter time. It still would get dark probably a little bit later, but it wouldn't be getting dark at 5 p.m., 5:30. It might stay dark at the latest like 6 o'clock, or an hour different, basically. So now that we talked about just like social stuff, oh yeah, speaking of social, if you want to follow me or subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on IG or YouTube at Leo Be the Lion Show. And you can look for me on Facebook at Leo Bejarano. That's Leo, Leo, B as in boy, Ejarano. And look me up and follow my shows. And I'd really appreciate a subscription, a like, or even comments on my YouTube videos so we could talk about it. And I get into sports. I cover the financial markets. And I get into local issues around West Palm Beach, Riviera Beach, and the surrounding areas in Palm Beach County. So now with that, let's get into NFL free agency, trade talks, trade rumors extraordinaire. The NFL started its official first free agency period today. Teams can now officially negotiate and officially sign guys and get the deals in place. But before that, over this past weekend, teams were unofficially getting deals in place. Speaking of the first pick, the first pick belonged to the Chicago Bears, and the first overall pick is looking like it's going to be C.J. Stroud or a quarterback, one of the quarterbacks coming out, either C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, or Bryce Young. But the Panthers wanted to get in on the first pick, and they ended up trading their number 9 overall pick, the second round pick in this year's draft, the 2024 number 1 pick, and the 2025 second round pick for the Bears number 1 overall pick and and the Panthers also gave up DJ Moore. So let me say that one more time because I messed that up. That was a word salad. The Bears gave up their first overall pick for DJ Moore, the 9th overall pick, the second round pick, the Panthers 2024 first round pick, and the Panthers 2025 second round pick. Now, this is huge because the Panthers are showing that they're willing to give up the farm to try to hit on a quarterback, to give up their best receiver, to give up their 9th overall pick, where they might be able to sneak in and get a quarterback maybe at 6, or trade up still and maybe give up less of a haul. But this just shows, according to Todd McShay, that the Panthers are enamored with C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is going to be the Carolina Panthers' next quarterback. The Chicago Bears were in a position where it wouldn't have done them any good to keep the first pick, the first overall pick, and that is because when you're expected to pick a franchise-changing player, a franchise-changing quarterback with the first overall pick, it wouldn't make sense. You might as well get more picks, and if you are awarded the first overall pick, that means you had the worst record in the league. So chances are you need more than just a quarterback. You need more than just the first overall pick. So the Bears did a great job. They have Justin Fields in place. They have Darnell Mooney, and now they have DJ Moore. They got all these picks. They have the 9th overall pick, so expect the Bears to probably go defense with that pick, maybe a corner or a safety. I'm not sure who the Bears have on defense, but really expect them to make a splash in this year's draft, especially since they have the Panthers' first 2 picks. The Bears also can probably turn around their season because they have Justin Fields. So if you keep building around Justin Fields, maybe take an O-lineman, maybe make another move since you have all these picks. What if the Bears said, okay, we're not going to pack it. We're going to package the number 9 and the second round pick, and then our second round pick, and say we'll trade these 3 picks now during the draft for a great offensive lineman, let's just say. And I really think that the Panthers are mortgaging their future on this one. Yeah, they don't have a quarterback, and they need a quarterback. They were pretty competitive in the worst division in the NFL last year. The NFC South was the worst division in the NFL. The Bucs won that division with a sub-500 record, and the Panthers kept the Bucs on the ropes a couple times, but for the quarterback play was terrible for the Panthers. Next, the next free agent splash that was made was by a team a little south of Carolina and in sunny South Florida, and that is the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number 1. I need to get that clipped and be like, and so my producer Hunter can, press it when I be like, talk about the Dolphins. That's a good idea. But the Miami Dolphins made the biggest splash so far. Well, save for the news I'm going to get to in a second. In my opinion, the Dolphins heard these rumors. Okay, Aaron Rodgers might be coming to the Jets. Oh, the Bills have Stephon Diggs and other receivers. Oh, we need to strengthen our secondary. We need to just make moves and say, now we're going to have the top corner tandem in the league with Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey. We got Jalen Ramsey. The Dolphins got Jalen Ramsey for a song, ladies and gentlemen. Like, literally, they got Jalen Ramsey for like a beat, for like a third round, for our third round pick this year in 2023 draft, and Hunter Long, a fifth string tight end who couldn't even break into the game because we had Gesicki, Durham Smythe, and all those guys. So I really think that the Dolphins made a great move. Jalen Ramsey is 29 years old. He's a perennial all-pro corner, and he is back home in the state of Florida. He played for Florida State, and he belonged to the 2013 National Championship team in Florida State. He is responsible for helping the Jags, I believe in 2016, get to the AFC Championship because his defense, he was one of the anchors on defense, Jalen Ramsey was, locking up one side. And now to pair Jalen Ramsey with Xavier Howard, two all-pro corners on the outside, and then you have Javon Holland and Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones is going to get healthy. You have those four guys in the secondary that literally will create a shell. You won't be able to take the top off of them. Also, you won't be able to get past them because Vic Fangio, one of the top 5 defensive coordinators in the league, is now going to be the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins. Where the Dolphins need a defensive coordinator because our offense was our best unit last year. And when you look at the Dolphins and you say, oh man, they have all those players on defense. They have Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Christian Wilkins, Xavier Howard, and they're all kind of underachieving, and they're having a down year. Emmanuel Ogbah, too. I forgot about Ogbah. He got injured. When you have all these players and they're underachieving, you need to get a coordinator that can get the most out of them, get a coach that can coach them up. So, Dolphins, you did a great job. Yeah, Jalen Ramsey is a big cap hit, but I think some of the money is coming from the Rams, that they're going to pay some of that contract, so it's going to help us. And the Dolphins did rearrange their cap so that they could free up some room to make some of these moves. So the next move that the Dolphins made, and I just thought it was interesting, and I just mentioned all of it at the same time, was Mike White, the former backup quarterback for the New York Football Jets. He had talked about wanting to come down to Miami. He's from Florida, from South Florida, and Mike White signed as a Dolphins backup for a 2-year, $16 million contract. Now, Mike White is the backup that the Dolphins needed. Last year, it was cool to have Teddy Two Gloves, Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah, it was cool to have Skylar Thompson, the 7th-round pick. But we can count on Mike White as a backup just in case Tua ever gets hurt. Mike White, there was clamorings, there was shouts of Jets fans last year saying Mike White should be the starter because every time he got in the game, he outperformed Zach Wilson and Joe Flacco. So every time he got in the game. So Mike White is a good pickup for a backup. The Dolphins also picked up Tua's 5th-year option, and he's scheduled to make $23.5 million this year, but that's still cheaper than the average quarterback. The average quarterback now is making above $25 to $30 million, and then you have your elite quarterbacks making $40 to $50 million, especially like if you think about Derek Carr. Derek Carr is getting $37.5 million, and Daniel Jones is getting $40 million a year. Aaron Rodgers getting $50. Deshaun Watson, I believe, is getting $35, but it's guaranteed money. It's a different situation. And so Tua Tagovailoa getting $23.5 million for his rookie deal, picking up that 5th-year option, doesn't sound as bad as a $30 million, $40 million, $50 million type quarterback. The Dolphins' defense should be nasty. I just spoke about it just a moment ago that if the Dolphins' defense can get coached up, this is like the 2nd year in a row that the Dolphins are almost like winning the offseason. Like we're the offseason Super Bowl champs. And that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything in the real regular season and postseason. So I'm kind of not trying to get my hopes up. Last year when we got Tyreek Hill, I was like, we're going to the Super Bowl because our defense is good. This year now, we got Vic Fangio, where free agency is just starting. We got picked up Jalen Ramsey. Now we just need, the Dolphins really need RBs and LBs, in my opinion. The Dolphins need to lock up their running back room and lock up their linebacker room. Yeah, keep Baker and maybe Van Ginkel if he's a free agent, so he's going to test the water maybe. But I think we need to go after some heavy hitters in the linebacking department. We need to make sure that our linebackers can cover the underneath routes, the middle of the field, and also take care of business when it comes to stopping the run. And you want to be able to rush the passer, especially on the outside. Vic Fangio's defense, I believe, is a defense that is predicated on pressure. And what NFL defense isn't predicated on pressure, because you can't rush the quarterback in the NFL, you can't win games. The Dolphins have a young defensive line. We'll see how they get better. Now let's talk about some more breaking news, more free agency news. Jimmy G has agreed in principle to sign with the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. I can promise you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening right now or listening on YouTube, follow me and subscribe at Leo B. The Lion Show or on IG at Leo B. The Lion Show as well. If you listen to me, every time I say the Raiders, I want to say Oakland. I want to say Los Angeles even. But I don't. I have to literally catch myself mid-thought and be like, say Las Vegas, say Las Vegas. It hasn't hit me yet. And the same thing with San Diego Chargers. I want to say San Diego. They're now Los Angeles Chargers. So it just comes like that. I just thought I'd put you into the mind of Leo B. the Lion. But yeah, Jimmy G is going to the Raiders. They got rid of Derek Carr. Derek Carr was, rightly so, kind of underperforming in the Raiders system, in the Las Vegas Raiders system. And Derek Carr is now going to the Saints. Derek Carr signed the deal for, I believe, a 5-year deal, $37.5 million. And he is about 32 years old. He's going to the Saints. He's going to make the Saints better. He's been coached by Dennis Allen before. Dennis Allen is the coach of the Saints. And Jimmy G is going to the Raiders. I think this is kind of like the next chapter for Jimmy G. The next stage in his career where it's going to be like his team. Now it's officially his team. Before, when he was on the Patriots, he sat behind Tom Brady, got in spurts, showed how he could win games. Then he went out to San Fran, to Frisco, and he showed that, he can win games. He can get the team to the win. But for some reason, he was never considered the long-term starter in Frisco. He never was considered to be that guy. He was never that dude in Frisco. So he, after getting injured and Brock Purdy coming in and lighting the world on fire, being Mr. Irrelevant and taking the 49ers into the playoffs, Jimmy G got shipped off to the Raiders. And now he is going to be the number one, far and away, starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I did it again, for the Las Vegas Raiders. And he is going to, I think, do really well for the Raiders. I like Derek Carr personally, so I didn't want to see him go, but there was just a philosophical difference between the Raiders coaching staff and Derek Carr. I mean, Derek Carr has a strong arm. I wish that we would have brought in Derek Carr to back up Tua, to push Tua. Because you want a quarterback that's literally right there with Tua, because if he's right there, that means either one of those quarterbacks is going to have to step their game up to win the job. So and then that would be good for the team, because that's how you get better, is getting uncomfortable and then trying who's going to develop, who's going to get better, who's going to push through, break through, and find a new level of greatness. That was the question, but it didn't happen. So Jimmy G to the Raiders. And then I would say the most breaking news of the day, which it's not, as far as I've checked, it hasn't been official, but the Jets are signing Aaron Rodgers. The Jets are getting Aaron Rodgers. I have it on my show notes as the Jets might get Aaron Rodgers. But on my way here, I wasn't texting and driving, but I got the update that on Twitter, Trey Wingo, who reported the deal might be going to the Jets, that Aaron Rodgers might be going to the Jets last week, he tweeted out today that it's all but done that Aaron Rodgers is a Jet. And first of all, first thing I thought is I'm sick. Jets, and we got to play Aaron Rodgers twice a year now? I mean, he's 40 years old, okay, so it might be only be like 1 or 2 years, but we have to play Aaron Rodgers twice a year in the AFC East. That's going to be a tough one. The Jets have a good defense. They just re-signed Quincy Williams, and they have Quinnen Williams, his brother, on the D-line. Quincy Williams is a linebacker. They're going to get back Breece Hall. They have Garrett Wilson on the outside. Speed on the outside. Garrett Wilson's fast. I don't like giving the Jets props, but I have to give them props for getting Aaron Rodgers. And you got to think that the Dolphins kind of expected it, and that is why the Dolphins acquired Jalen Ramsey from the Rams. Because they knew that if the Jets get Aaron Rodgers, that we may be the best division, that the AFC East might be the toughest division in the league next year, because you'll have Tua Tagovailoa as a starter, you'll have Josh Allen, you'll have Aaron Rodgers, and then you'll have Mac Jones. And yeah, Mac Jones, he was a Pro Bowler, but I can't say that with a straight face. But Mac Jones, yeah, he's okay. But those other three quarterbacks have the potential to take your team to the Super Bowl in my eyes. And so Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. I'm reporting it on the Leo B. the Lion show here from 6 to 7 live on Mondays at Respectable Street on Clematis in beautiful West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm reporting it that Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with the Jets. I saw it on Trey Wingo's Twitter, so I'm just going to report it through there. It's like you miss 100% of the shot you don't take, from Wayne Gretzky, from Michael Scott to Leo B. the Lion show. That's what it is. Aaron Rodgers is going to the Jets. I'm a little nervous. I can't help but be a little nervous because he is still a top 5 quarterback. Yeah, he regressed a little bit this year, but he didn't like where he was at. He wasn't happy in the situation. So knowing the Jets, he'll have a great year. He's kind of pulling a Favre and doing the same thing that Brett Favre did. Instead of retiring, he went to the Jets. And so I really expect that Aaron Rodgers is going to take the Jets from being just out of the playoffs to now being a Super Bowl contending team. Yeah, people say the Jets have holes, but they had a lot of injuries this year. And so I call it like I see it. I call it like I see them. The Jets are Super Bowl contenders now with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. As a Dolphins fan, it makes me sick. I want the Dolphins to be the best team in the AFC East. But right now, as it is, it's the Bills and the Jets if they get Aaron Rodgers, and then the Dolphins and the Patriots trying to fight for second place. It makes me kind of nervous, but we'll see what happens. The Dolphins aren't done signing people. They aren't done making trades, and they aren't done moving in the draft. So let's see what the Dolphins can still do. We need running backs and linebackers. The rumors are that the Dolphins will be a favorite landing spot for Derrick Henry. And if he's available and we don't re-sign Mostert and Jeff Wilson, we have Salvon Ahmed. We re-signed him for a 2-year deal, like on a minimum deal. But if we can get Derrick Henry and have that threat of Derrick Henry, and then on the outside have the threat of Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, it's going to be a dangerous, dangerous offense, a dynamic offense, and that is for sure. Now, talking about the trade talks, another player that the Dolphins wanted to really get from the Niners was Mike McGlinchey. My buddy Mark, he's pretty plugged in. He stays in tune with what's going on with the Dolphins. He refreshes the Dolphins news to see what's happening. And he said that we got Jesse Davis back, but I didn't really want him, and neither did he. And then he also said, we are trying to get, besides Jalen Ramsey, like I said, we got Mike White. And what we believe is like looking at all the beat writers for the Dolphins, Cameron Wolf, Jeff Darlington, he's more ESPN, but Cameron Wolf is. They really think that Derrick Henry could be coming to Miami. They think that we still need to bolster the O-line, and so do we. We need somebody to protect Tua's blind side because we're losing Austin Jackson. We need them to make sure that our O-line is solid. We don't just need Connor Williams and Taron Armstead, but we need 5 solid offensive linemen. So let's see what we can do, Dolphins. I really want the Dolphins to make some moves, but like I mentioned earlier, we cannot rely on just winning the offseason Super Bowl because that doesn't count for anything. All right. Now, after talking about the free agency and the NFL trade talks, I want to get into the World Baseball Classic. And that's because right now it's 20 teams going on since March 7th it started. There's 4 pools of 5 teams. So there was one team in Taiwan, or one pool in Taiwan, one pool in Japan, one pool I believe in, and correct me if I'm wrong, in Mexico, and then one pool in Miami, Florida. And so the pools are going on today, and it's 4 groups of 5 countries. The top 2 teams from each of the groups advance to the quarterfinals. And as of today, 4 teams have advanced to the quarterfinals. These next 2 days, today and tomorrow, Monday and Tuesday, March 13th and 14th, we'll get the other 2 quarterfinals set. But the first quarterfinal is Australia versus Cuba. Cuba won their group handily, and the surprise team, I'd say, that you wouldn't think, but they do have some team. Like, if you really think about players, Italy moved on to play Japan. The three countries that I would say are most known for baseball outside of the United States are the Dominican Republic, Japan, and Cuba. So when I heard that Italy had a team in here, I was like, oh, this might be a real baseball classic. They have teams also like Canada, Great Britain, Taiwan, Chinese Taipei, China even, and the Netherlands. So it's a pretty cool thing to have. They had a warm-up game in the ballpark of the Palm Beaches, and now they're playing their group, the Pool D, in Miami, in Lone Depot Park, or Miami Marlins Stadium. One cool thing also about that is that the semifinals and the finals of the World Baseball Classic are taking place in Miami. And so that's pretty cool. There'll be more people there for those World Baseball Classic games than probably every Marlins game combined this year. That's sad to say, but people don't really be going to Marlins games like that. Like, the capacity is like 40,000 for a Marlins game. No, 35,000, let's just say. Let's just be conservative, 35,000. On a good night, like maybe when the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Yankees come into town, you'll probably get a good 11,000 in there. A little 12,000 action. But that's a third of the capacity. I went with my buddy to watch the Cubs play, and I think it got up to about 15,000. It was a good game. The Cubs ended up destroying the Marlins because for the past couple years, the Marlins have been unable to score runs. However, this year the Marlins have added a few key players, and they're looking to go off the momentum of Sandy Alcantara having a Cy Young season and Jazz Chisholm being on the cover of MLB The Show. So, as of today, the 4 teams that already advanced: Australia and Cuba, and Italy and Japan. So Australia will play Cuba in the first quarterfinal. Italy will play Japan, and then the top team in Pool C will play the runner-up in Pool D, and vice versa. The runner-up in Pool C will play the top team in Pool D. Right now, Colombia is playing. Shout out to Colombia. Colombia is playing Great Britain, and it's 7-3 in the middle of the 8th, and Great Britain's the home team. It's tough for me because, I'm Colombian and I want Colombia to win, And we have players on the team. It's pretty cool to see some of the former players, some of the former big league players playing for their team and coaching for their team. And for instance, that Miguel Cabrera, Marlins legend, for helping us as a young buck, 23 years old, helping us take the Marlins to the World Series in 2003 and get the World Series win. Miggy Cabrera is playing for Venezuela. He has to be at least 40 years old, at least in his 40s. And it's so cool to see that he's still suiting up. He batted. He had an at-bat last night, and Venezuela ended up destroying Puerto Rico. And it was so funny because they weren't trying to pitch to Miggy, but he still took an outside pitch and took it right up the middle for a single, and it was a good play. And it was just cool to see Miguel Cabrera playing. Also, Colombia has won. They won their first game yesterday against Mexico, and Jorge Alfaro is Colombian. He was a Marlins catcher, and Edgar Renteria he was the hero for the Marlins in the 1997 World Series in extra innings in Game 7, where Craig Counsell was on second base, and Edgar Renteria got the game walk-off hit to win the Marlins, and he's Colombian, so he's a bench coach for the Colombian national team. It's so cool because it brings back memories of when the Marlins were good. And so I really hope that the Marlins will be good this year. I really want the Marlins to get it together, but we will know if the Marlins are going to have a good season if by the end of April, if they're not 5 or 6 games under 500, if they're at 500 at April, which means they start probably April 1st or March 30th playing baseball, and they probably play about 20 games. So if they're 10-10 at the end of April, then you're like, all right, the Marlins might have a good season. But if they're 6-14, yeah, you can probably can't mail it in right then. It's going to be a month-by-month thing with the Marlins. The years that the Marlins have been good enough to make it to the playoffs are the years that they've won the World Series. That's an interesting stat and an interesting trivia. The only 2 times the Marlins have ever been to the playoffs, they won the World Series. They were 90-72 in 1997 and 92-70 in 2003, and they were able to shock teams along the way. In 97, you had Livan Hernandez pitching gems, looking like a Cy Young candidate out of Cuba. Livan Hernandez pitching gems led them to the World Series. Then in 2003, you had Miguel Cabrera, you had Ivan Pudge Rodriguez, and you had them beating teams like the Cubs, the Giants, to get to the World Series and win the World Series. And then Josh Beckett, of course, pitching against the Yankees and destroying the Yankees for the elimination game. So the World Baseball Classic, like I said, tonight USA is playing Canada. That's a good matchup. You would say, now, if you're just like a casual fan, you might be like, why isn't USA, USA should be good. Should probably win the World Baseball Classic every year. But a lot of the other countries, similar to basketball, but not as, basketball hasn't caught up as much, but baseball has really caught up. Japanese teams, Cuban teams, teams from the Dominican Republic, they really compete with the U.S. teams. And baseball is sort of an international sport. It really hasn't gotten the national attention that it did in the past because of the slow pace of baseball and because of the inherent defensive nature of baseball. Baseball is one of those things where if you see a 2-1 game, the avid fan, the loyal baseball fan will be like, wow, that was a gem of a game, 2-1. Did you see that guy? He made a double play in the 5th, and then he got a diving catch, and the pitcher was on his stuff today, and he pitched 5 no-hit baseball, 5 innings of no-hit baseball. Well, the casual fan doesn't really give a damn about that. The casual fan or the person being like, hey, babe, you want to go to the game tonight? Those guys and gals don't want to see a 1-2, 2-1 ball game or a 1-0 ball game or a no-hitter. They want to see like 7-6. Chicks dig the long ball. That hasn't changed. they want to see some scoring offense. So it's kind of good. Maybe we'll see with the rule changes. They made the bases from being 16 square inches to being 18 square inches or 20 square inches. So the bases are bigger, which is going to allow for more exciting plays at the bases. Small ball where players are going to try and steal the bases more. There's also a pitch clock where the pitcher, if he has runners on base, he has 20 seconds to deliver a pitch. If he has no runners on base, he has 15 seconds to deliver a pitch. If he fails to deliver a pitch within that time, the batter will be awarded a ball. If the batter also has 15 seconds. And if the batter doesn't get ready within that time and the pitcher has to pitch, it'll be awarded a strike. So it's pretty interesting how they're going to keep that going. They've also limited the amount of pitching changes that you can have. And I really think it's going to maybe shift. Oh, and they also banned the shift. So that means where they used to have where instead of having a shortstop and a third baseman, they would move the third baseman all the way over to the second base side and cover the short right field, where the shortstop would just remain almost at second base. And it was for all lefty hitters who could only pull the ball and basically only pull it to right field. Well, they banned that because they were finding that if you didn't hit a home run, chances are getting out, and averages were going down, and strikeouts are going up. So they banned the shift. So now probably hitters will be able to get more hits, and baseball will try to regain some of that market share and try to regain some of that twinkle in its eye that it's had in the past of being, quote unquote, air quotes, not the nation's pastime. They've tried to get the games down from about 2 hours and 30 minutes to about 2 hours and 25 minutes. And yeah, it's 11 minutes, but they're testing it because that makes a difference when NFL game is, 3 hours, 2.5 hours, but it's more action-packed. NBA game is 2.5 hours, but it's more action-packed. So they're just seeing the writing on the wall. People's attention spans have dwindled, and in the microwave age and the instant age, it's not the instant coffee world, Robert Saleh, but it is in the information age. You want everything right away. People just be like, give me short clips of what you're talking about. Give me bursts. Don't give me rapid fire. You know what I'm saying? Now let's talk about from the World Baseball Classic and the MLB rule changes. We have a big event coming in starting this week in the nation, and that is March Madness, ladies and gentlemen. The NCAA March Madness NCAA basketball tournament is starting this week, and yesterday was Selection Sunday. I'm so excited for this. I want to win the challenge so I can win the cash. But chances are I'm probably not, because usually after the first weekend, most people's brackets are busted, and that includes yours truly. So you are listening to the Leo Be the Lion show live from 6 to 7 every Monday here at Respectable Street on Clematis in beautiful West Palm Beach, Florida. And you can hear me recorded after the fact on YouTube. I post all my videos on YouTube. And I talk about sports and business and local issues going on. We still have that local issue in Riviera Beach about Lone Pine Golf Course getting turned into apartment housing. But the issue is that they want to not care about the groundwater and the ground issues that would involve turning a golf course, a heavily chemically used. There's lots of chemicals that get used on a golf course. So when they turn up that ground and disturb the ground and well water around that area, there could be arsenic or benzene going into the water. So that's why the residents of Lone Pine and Riviera Beach, they don't want that golf course to be turned into apartment complexes because, one, there's not going to be any planning done, and two, for traffic-wise getting out of there, and two, it's going to disrupt the natural ambiance of the golf course and disrupt the environment by possibly disrupting the groundwater. And speaking of groundwater, We don't want another Ohio. We don't want another Flint. We don't want another situation like that. So I hope that the Riviera Beach City Council gets their act together and decides to agree with the zoning and agree with the people, the residents of Lone Pine Estates, to not change the golf course into a affordable housing complex. Yes, we need affordable housing, but there is plenty of other land in other places that you can make adjustments to, and I bet it's more affordable land. So, let's go through my bracket. We're going to go through all the picks. And we'll get you down to my champion, and I'll give you the champ. And first, let's go by the number 1 seeds. The 4 number 1 seeds are Alabama in the South, Purdue in the East region, Houston in the Midwest region, and Kansas in the West region. When you look at this, the championship game this year will be played in Houston, Texas, so that gives an advantage if Houston can get there. We'll see. The first game that we have on the docket in the South region is Alabama versus the winner of Southern Missouri, And then I think I'm going to go with Alabama in that situation. Then we have the 8-9 matchup, and that is Maryland versus West Virginia. When you think of these two schools, traditionally, Maryland has been the more basketball school, whereas West Virginia has been the more football school. Well, and you've had West Virginia having some good years in basketball, college basketball. There was a coach, and the name escapes me, but he was a good coach for West Virginia for a few years. But give me Maryland as an 8 seed going in there and taking care of business. And then let's move to the 5-12 matchup in the South region, and that is San Diego State versus Charleston. San Diego State is the 5 seed, Charleston is the 12. And every year there's at least one 5-12 upset where the 12 seed will beat a 5 seed. Well, not this year and not the South region. I'm taking San Diego State to win and move on to the Sweet 16. The next matchup is the number 4 seeded Virginia Cavaliers versus Furman, and I'm going to take Virginia just off the strength of being a 4 seed. They've been tops in the ACC, and they're really strength, and they're coming on strong. Then the next matchup in the South region is the Creighton Bulldogs versus NC State Wolfpack. And forgive me if I get any of the mascots wrong. Some of these are pretty esoteric colleges, so forgive me if I get any of the mascots wrong, but I think it's Creighton Bulldogs. So give me Creighton to advance against NC State. NC State is an 11 seed, and they really are having an off year. Then we have Baylor as the 3 seed versus UC Santa Barbara, University of California, Santa Barbara. Give me Baylor as the 3 seed. Next is Missouri in the 7-10 matchup. This is another matchup every year that the playoff selection or tournament selection committee likes to put upsets in here. And I am taking upset. Give me the 10 seed Utah State against Missouri. I think Utah State is going to win. I don't think Missouri's for real at all. So give me Utah State to upset Missouri in the 7-10 matchup. Then at the bottom of the South region, we have Arizona as the 2 seed versus 15 Princeton. Give me Arizona easy, Arizona chop. Then we'll go down to the East region, and I picked Purdue versus Purdue to win against the 16 seed. Then Memphis versus FAU. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. FAU, the team in Boca, had made it to the NCAA tournament. They won the Conference USA Championship. And now they're the 9 seed going up against Memphis. I like FAU's chances in this game, so give me FAU to beat Memphis in the 9-8 seed, upset the 8 seed in Memphis. Then the next one is the 5-12 matchup between Duke and Oral Roberts. Give me Duke to win that handily. Then Tennessee versus Louisiana. Give me Tennessee as the 4 seed. 6 seed Kentucky versus Providence Friars. I will take Kentucky Wildcats. They have a big center who literally 4 years ago, he is from Africa. He is from I don't know exactly which country he is from, so forgive me. But 4 years ago he never picked up a basketball, and now he is a double machine. So give me Kentucky to beat Providence. Then Kansas State as a 3 seed versus number 14 Montana State. Kansas State rolls. Number 7 Michigan State versus number 10 USC. Michigan State and Tom Izzo was on the Keyshawn J. Will and Max this morning on my way to work. So give me Michigan State versus USC. And Michigan State always likes to make a splash into the tournament. Then Marquette, number 2 versus Vermont. Give me Marquette to move on. Let's move over to the Midwest. Give me Houston to beat Northern Kentucky. Auburn in the 9-8 matchup to beat Iowa. Miami to beat Drake. Indiana to beat Kent State. Iowa State to beat the winner out of Mississippi State and Pitt. Xavier to beat Kennesaw State. And Texas A&M to beat Penn State. And Texas to beat Colgate. Now in the West, we have Kansas winning out. Illinois to beat Arkansas. St. Mary's to get upset against the 12 seed Virginia Commonwealth, VCU. UConn to beat Rick Pitino's team in Iona at number 4 seed. Then TCU to beat the winner out of Arizona State, Nevada. Gonzaga to beat Grand Canyon. Northwestern to beat Boise State. And then UCLA to beat UNC Asheville. We'll go ahead and move on to the Elite 8. To the Sweet 16, I have Alabama beating Maryland, San Diego State beating Virginia, Creighton beating Baylor, Utah State beating Arizona, and then in the East region, Purdue ending the Cinderella run of FAU. I wish I could pick FAU to upset, but I'm giving Purdue. Duke to upset Tennessee as the 5-4 matchup. Kentucky to upset Kansas State. And Michigan State to upset Marquette. Then Houston to beat Auburn. Miami to beat Indiana. Xavier to beat Iowa State. Texas A&M to beat Texas as an upset. Kansas will beat Illinois to move on to the Elite 8. VCU will fall to UConn. TCU against Zaga. Give me Gonzaga. Northwestern versus UCLA. Give me UCLA. Now to the Elite 8. Alabama versus Virginia. I like Alabama to move on the strength of Brandon Miller. He's their leading rebounder and leading point maker. Then give me Creighton versus Arizona. I like Creighton to upset Arizona. Purdue to fall to Duke, and Duke would move on to the Elite 8. Kentucky to lose to Michigan State, so we'd have a 5-7 matchup in the Elite 8 for Duke and Michigan State. Houston to beat Miami. Xavier to beat Texas A&M. Kansas to move on to the Elite 8 against UConn. And then UCLA to beat Gonzaga. Now in the Elite 8, Alabama would roll against Creighton to move on to the first Final Four spot. Duke is going to beat and put an end to Michigan State's run and move on to the Final Four. Houston, like Phi Slamma Jamma, is going to come around and beat Xavier and move on to the Final Four. And Kansas, like last year, they're the defending champs, will move on to the Final Four. The first Final Four matchup is Alabama, number 1 seed, versus number 5 Duke. And I like Duke to upset Alabama. Alabama came that far, but Duke just is putting it together at the right time. Give me Duke in the first finals spot. Then we have Houston, the number 1 seed, versus Kansas, the overall 1 seed, I believe. Kansas and Houston, they're both number 1 seeds, and give me Kansas moving on. So the national championship game looks like this in Houston, Texas, is number 1 seed Kansas versus Duke, and we had to pick a final score, and I picked Kansas to repeat as NCAA champs, winning 74-68. That is my tournament challenge bracket. Good luck to everybody who's doing a bracket. The first games start on Thursday and Friday. Don't tell my boss, but your boy will have that on my second screen watching those games, because CBS is going to have that set up. This has been the Leo Be the Lion show, coming to you live every Monday from 6 to 7 via subcultureradio.com and via Respectable Street here and Subculture Radio Studios on Clematis in beautiful West Palm Beach, Florida, in downtown West Palm Beach. I'll be here next week, and I look forward to talking to you guys about the World Baseball Classic, how it went, and how the tournament's going, to see if my bracket is busted after the first weekend. It'll be the Sweet 16 by next week. And look for my video on YouTube, and it'll be in chapters so that you'll be able, with timestamps, so you'll be able to find the section that you want to talk about or hear. If you want to hear about that pool lady who was trespassing or being disrespectful, or you want to hear about the tournament, you can follow me on IG at Leo B the Lion Show, or on YouTube at Leo B the Lion Show as well. Thanks so much. Thank you for liking my videos, commenting, subscribing, and thank you most of all to my listeners. Thank you for those of you that listen and catch my show. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. This has been Leo B the Lion and Leo B the Lion Show signing off.